You're 30 years old. You've got $50,000 saved, and you have no idea if that's good, bad, or a complete disaster. The internet tells you you're behind. Your parents tell you you're doing fine. So today, we're going to do something almost nobody on YouTube does. We're going to look at the actual data, and then we're going to talk about why all of it might be wrong for the world we're actually living in. Welcome to Money in the AI Era. This channel exists because the personal finance advice you grew up with was built for a world that no longer exists. Save 10% of your income. Hit 1 times your salary by 30. Max your 401k. Retire at 65. Your career might not compound the way your parents did. Your industry might not be around in 10 years, and the benchmarks we're about to look at don't account for any of that. So here's the deal. Real numbers, real sources, and an honest framework. Let's get into it. Let's start with the cleanest data we have. The Federal Reserve runs a survey every 3 years called the Survey of Consumer Finances. The most recent one was conducted in 2022, with results released in late 2023. The next one is being conducted right now and will be published later this year. So these are the most current verified numbers we have. Here's what they show for people under 35. Median net worth, $39,000. Not 50, 39. Which means if you're 30 with 50,000 saved, you are actually above the median. You are doing better than half of Americans your age. The internet has been lying to you. One important note before we go further. These are 2022 dollars. Asset prices, especially homes and stocks, have appreciated meaningfully since then. So the real 2026 number is probably 15 to 20% higher. Adjust accordingly. Now before you celebrate, and we'll talk about why you shouldn't, there's something else in that data that matters. From 2019 to 2022, the median net worth for people under 35 went from $13,900 to $39,000. That's a 180% increase in 3 years, the largest 3-year gain on record for that age group. That happened because of a once-in-a-generation combination of stimulus checks, asset price inflation, a hot job market, and student loan pauses. None of those conditions exist today. So the next survey of consumer finances, when it drops, might tell a very different story. Now let's look at retirement specifically. Vanguard publishes a report every year called How America Saves. The 2025 edition tracked almost 5 million people across their retirement plans. Here's what it found for ages 25 to 34. Average 401k balance, $42,640. Median, $16,255. Big gap, right? That's because a small number of high earners pull the average way up, while the typical person sits much lower. The median is the more honest number. The standard advice from Fidelity and most major financial institutions is that by age 30, you should have 1 times your annual salary saved for retirement. If you make $70,000, that means $70,000 in retirement accounts. The reality? The typical 30-year-old has roughly $16,000. That's less than a quarter of what the benchmark says. So either every advisor in America is wrong about what's achievable, or most Americans are catastrophically behind. The truth is somewhere in the middle. But here's where it gets interesting. Every benchmark we just looked at assumes one thing: that your career will compound linearly, that you'll earn more every year, that your industry will exist in 20 years, that your job won't be substantially automated, and that you can plan a 35-year career runway from age 30 to age 65. That's the assumption baked into the standard advice. Save 1 times your salary by 30, 3 times by 40, 6 times by 50. It only works if your salary keeps growing on a stable trajectory. So here's the question nobody is asking on Personal Finance YouTube. What if that assumption is breaking? Let me give you the data. In 2025, US employers cut 1.17 million jobs, the highest level since the 2020 pandemic. Of those, nearly 55,000 were directly attributed to AI, according to Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. In just the first 2 months of 2026, tech firms have already cut another 32,000 jobs. Amazon cut 16,000 in January, on top of 15,000 the previous October. Block cut 40% of its entire workforce in February. But here's the more important number. In a January 2026 Harvard Business Review survey of more than 1,000 global executives, only 2% reported large headcount reductions tied to actual AI implementation. Only 2%. The rest were cutting or slowing hiring in anticipation of what AI is going to do. Not because the technology had already replaced workers, but because they believed it would. That distinction matters. Companies are preemptively shrinking. Hiring freezes for entry-level white-collar work are happening before AI has actually proven it can do those jobs. The career compounding assumption that you'll get hired, get promoted, and keep climbing depends on a hiring market that is actively contracting right now, especially at the entry and early career levels. So here's the framework I want you to use instead of the standard "Am I behind?" question. There are 3 rough categories of careers right now, and which one you're in changes everything about how aggressive your savings rate should be. Category 1. Compounding careers. These are roles where AI makes you more valuable, not less. Senior engineers using AI to ship faster. Sales and account management, where relationships matter. Skilled trades, healthcare, specialized legal and medical work. If you're in a compounding career, the standard benchmarks probably underestimate where you should be by 35 and 40, because your earning power is accelerating, not just compounding. Category 2. Stable careers. Government, education, established mid-career corporate roles in industries that change slowly. The standard benchmarks apply roughly as written. You can plan a linear career. Category 3. Decaying careers, entry-level knowledge work that's heavy on repeatable tasks. Customer support, junior content creation, basic data analysis, some entry-level software engineering, bookkeeping, translation. These aren't disappearing tomorrow, but the hiring pipeline is contracting fast, and the salary growth curve is flattening. If you're in Category 3, you cannot use the standard benchmarks. You need to either save more aggressively to compensate for a shorter compounding window, build a side income that doesn't depend on your industry, or actively transition into Category 1 or 2 before the contraction hits you personally. And here's the uncomfortable part. You have to be honest with yourself about which category you're actually in, not which one you wish you were in. So here's what to actually do this month, regardless of which category you're in. Move 1. Calculate your real net worth, not your bank account. Net worth. Assets minus liabilities. There's a free calculator linked in the description if you don't have one. Most people overestimate by 20 to 30% because they forget about debt or undervalue what's in retirement accounts. Get the real number first. Move 2. Identify your category. Write it down honestly. Compounding, stable, or decaying. Then look at your industry's hiring trends from the last 12 months. Not the last 5 years, the last 12 months. The trend matters more than the absolute number. Move 3. Pick one defensive action. If you're in Category 1 or 2, that means automating an additional 1 to 2% of your income into investments. Most people can do this without feeling it. If you're in category 3, that means starting one income stream that doesn't depend on your current employer. It doesn't have to be a side business. It can be freelance, contract work, or building a skill in a category 1 field. That's it. 3 moves. They take about an hour total. So back to the original question. Are you behind at 30 with $50,000 saved? By the standard benchmarks, you're above median, slightly behind the fidelity targets. By the framework that actually matters in 2026, it depends entirely on which career category you're in and what you do about it in the next 12 months. Next week, we're breaking down rent versus buy in the AI era. Specifically, why the standard 5-year rule for buying a house might be completely broken right now. If you want that, hit subscribe so you don't miss out. And in the description below, every source I cited today is linked. Federal Reserve data, Vanguard report, Challenger layoff data, the HBR study. Check the work. That's what we do on this channel. See you next week.